All right, everybody. If you are listening to this right now, this is a pre recorded podcast, which, as of late, has not been my usual thing. But I figured since this coming Sunday morning, I would not be available to talk to you guys one on one. I will pre record this so that way you guys have something for easy listening on your wonderful Sunday morning. Hopefully, you are doing absolutely fantastic. Hopefully, the weather's nice where you're at. Unfortunately, here in Pennsylvania, it's not very nice because it's just that time of year, unfortunately. But I figured I would record this and make a pretty big announcement, but I'll get to that here in a second. As you can see, I'm all Tiger Fitnessed out. I did just get a package from Tiger Fitness because they're running their big game day sale right now, where if you go to the website, you automatically get 15% off of everything. This won't benefit me because I always encourage you guys to use my code, but I had to buy stuff regardless. So I had to get a new t-shirt. I'm wearing the form-fitting shorts, which are very form-fitting. And I'm wearing my Make America Healthy Again hat as well. So make sure you go over to Tiger Fitness if you're listening to this live. But if you're listening to it afterwards, you might have missed out on the sale and use code Kyle at checkout to let them know that I sent you and support the Matovic family, if you will. So, obviously Fox& and Sons coffee as well. Absolutely fantastic coffee. I'm drinking the Brazil Honey Prep again. I just finished some of the, Boogaloo, the Electric Boogaloo, and, yeah, back to my normal, the, Brazil Honey Prep, and then obviously Deem Fit through the link below to get some great clothes that, supports first responders. So, I'm gonna run the introduction just like I would for a live show, and we will kinda continue on with what I wanna tell you guys today. All right, I'll get that out of there. I ended it a little bit early just so that way I could, save a little bit of your time and you don't have to sit there in the silence for, a few seconds. But like I said, it's a little bit odd for me right now to not be doing a live stream because I'm so used to kind of having a back and forth with the audience. But I wanted to tell everybody that some very, very exciting things are going on for me personally. And if you follow me on Twitter or on Facebook, then you probably already know. But I wanted to reach the podcasting audience and hopefully make this abundantly clear and tell you guys that my wife and I are expecting a kid. The Matovik family will be expanding by one. And if you're listening to this I'm right now live, then I think we're about 14 weeks along, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong, give or take. But we're expecting a kid in August, and that will be drastically changing my life and obviously my wife's life and the rest of our family's lives. And I couldn't be more excited. I've probably delved into like personal family details, not like personal, but like, you know, I didn't have the greatest life growing up, and that's not to get people to have pity for me. I'm not trying to do that at all. I don't care how you feel one way or another. I'm just telling you what it is and kind of where I come from and what my goals are personally. So this is going to be, less of a political podcast. This is going to be a little bit more about me and hopefully, is at least entertaining. I moved around a whole bunch as a kid. My mom and dad split up when I was about 5 years old, and I do still have a great relationship with both of them to this day. Um, and I think part of that is that you mature over time, and I think probably everybody could relate to this, or at least I hope you all could, that, maybe when you're a little bit younger, you're a little bit resentful of your parents, and you think they're the worst people in the world, or that, they shoulda did so much better with you, but you really find out that at least for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, me turning 30 this past year, and, I'm sure a lot of my audience is probably older than me, but um, you find out that as you get older and older, you think all the adults have it figured out, but generally, like, we kind of know what to do, but like, it's not always clear what exactly the right move is, and that sometimes we are figuring it out day by day. And I don't think our parents were any exceptions to that. Like, there might have been a better culture back in the 90s, 80s, 60s, 70s, whatever. I actually tend to lean towards that the culture wasn't that much different than it is now. We're just so much more exposed to it due to social media and the widespread availability of phones and technology that we can see pictures of stuff that we might not have seen 50, 60 years ago. But I think as you get older, you eventually find out that just, hey, we're all kind of muddling through life, doing the best we can with what we have and the knowledge that we have. And yeah, there are definitely things that we do that we know we shouldn't. And, sometimes we have the information, we still don't make the best choice, which kind of gets to a whole different conversation about libertarianism and stuff like that. But, you know, we generally try to fight against our worst nature and do the right thing. Um, I realize that my parents, as much as I love them both dearly, that they're flawed people. That is the same for every single person on the face of this planet, and that's perfectly okay. We're all flawed people trying to find our way and do the best that we can. And some of us do fall very, very short of that. And sometimes we meaningfully and knowingly fall short of that. All you can do is just, try to put your best foot forward. Okay, so, well, why is this even relevant? Why am I bringing up my parents and their flaws and stuff like that? Because I feel like I have the opportunity, and I know Jack or maybe some of the guys like Ryan, Nuke, maybe even Hawk would kind of look at me a little bit sideways when I say, like, I feel like I have the potential to set things right for my family. And not that there's any massive societal wrong. Like in my locale, the Matovic last name is actually looked upon very, very favorably. My wife, funny enough, was telling me that when she was taking a patient to the hospital one time, they found out that her last name was, my last name. And they had mentioned how much they liked my grandfather and were just like happy to see her. And that may not be like perfectly exactly what it is, but it somewhat gets to the point. And I remember being a kid and being at my grandfather's funeral, and I just wanted to leave so bad. I didn't want to spend a second more there than absolutely necessary. And there were people standing outside of the building, waiting to get in to pay their respects to my grandfather. And now looking back at that 15 years later, I wish I would have spent every single second that I could there, because there's probably a lot of people that could have told me a lot of things about who I view as a great man. And I view my father as a great man as well. But, looking back at that, it's like I probably could have just learned so much and got to know, the shoes that, myself, my younger brother, and my older brother all have to fill, because, he did leave a large, hole in a lot of people's hearts from what I could tell. And I could only hope that I could be, half the man that he was. And, with, dutiful, um, pride and, um, diligence, hopefully I'll be able to live up to that. And I think that my brothers as well will hopefully live up to that. But um I couldn't be more excited. And if I do have to say what my regrets are, it would be not doing it sooner and not attempting to become a father sooner. And fortunately Sarah and I are both in great health, and I think that this is going to be a fantastic thing for everybody involved. There were concerns initially that, maybe my wife couldn't get pregnant because she does have some issues that just not going to, delve into her personal details live on the podcast, but not anything like dire, but we just didn't know. And then, fortunately, this kind of came along, and it's a real blessing, I think. So tomorrow, or at least today, when you're listening to this, it is February 9th. We don't know the gender yet. We don't know if we're gonna have a boy or if we're gonna have a girl, or we don't know if we're gonna have twins. As far as I know, we're just having one. We did the ultrasound at 8 or 9 weeks, I think, and we saw one little peanut in there, funny enough. And my wife has an app where it tells you what size the baby is, week by week by week. And I think this week it's a date, if I remember correctly. So if I want to say probably about the size of my palm is about how big the baby is right now. And it also kind of goes through like all the specific things that happen week to week to week. Like, okay, well, this week it's developing its skin. Like its skin may be transparent, but it's there. Starting to grow nails. Some of the organs start working. The heart starts beating. all this different stuff. Its eyes are now formed, but they're closed. To me, this stuff is fascinating, and it goes to a bigger point that I made a joke. And I don't know if they seen it yet, but in the post zero chat, I told the guys, and we're not going to be doing a post zero today, in case anybody was wondering. Or at least I haven't checked the chat. We seemingly all agreed that we're not going to do it today, but I told them that like I won't be available next week because I'm figuring out if I'm going to have a boy or if I'm going to have an abortion. And of course, I kid, but I am fervently pro life, and kind of learning about a lot of this stuff has only cemented my position further. My life personally doesn't feel all that different. My wife has handled it very, very well as far as I could tell. And for that, I'm very, very happy. And I'm very happy that, like I said earlier, we're both happy and healthy and doing well. But mild nausea, no bad nausea, 14 weeks so into the second trimester, which my understanding is most people have the most amount of issues in the first trimester. So that's great. But I've told everybody that I'm ready, and I do think I'm ready. And granted, like not in the sense that I know exactly how things are going to play out, and I know exactly every single step of the way of how I'm going to raise my kid, but I'm ready for this next chapter in life. And this is what I want. This is what my wife wants, and this is what we're doing. um, that respect, I'm ready. I am ready to move forward into the next chapter of my life, the third decade of my life, which will probably be one of the more significant ones because this is where, now I do have somebody else depending on me. And not that my wife doesn't depend on me for things, but we have somebody that has no other choice but to depend on me. And that's a big deal. Kids, this is also part of the reason why I still consider myself a libertarian, but I do think that there are some issues with the philosophy. If you are just a libertarian dead to rights, as in, like, you're an anarcho capitalist, let's say, or you think that a libertarian social order is the highest, most desirable social order. I'm not sure that I agree anymore. I used to, but at this point in my life, I do think and people are going to get mad when I say this, but like some kind of monopoly on violence to make sure that children are protected and, let's say abortion is banned and things like that is a necessary, if you want to call it evil. I think that's, not good or bad. It just is. I think having something like that is necessary because libertarianism, when it comes to just, the basic philosophy, which most people would boil it down to private property rights and the non aggression principle, um, if a child is yours and it theoretically is and it is your possession and by extension you do have it is under your supervision. People make the argument all the time that you can take someone up in a hot air balloon and shove them out because it's your private property. um some may consider that aggression, but if you take somebody up in a hot air balloon, right, to go with this metaphor, then it is kind of upon you to make sure that they're safe because this is your hot air balloon, or at least that's kind of the way that I'd perceive it. And this is kind of the way that I look at children as well. I do believe that children have positive rights. Children did not choose to be born, and they cannot fend for themselves. They can't be productive. They can't necessarily feed themselves. They are dependent upon their parents for everything, really, and they didn't choose that. And I do think life is, the most wonderful thing that we're given, and I think that's a great blessing to give to somebody. But that being said, while that person cannot fend for themselves, it cannot make their own decisions and cannot, affect their will in the world or defend themselves in any appropriate way, then I do believe that the parents that consented to have sex and consented to conceive a child and then consented to the birth of that child, I do believe they have an obligation to take care of that child. And I think people that would neglect that responsibility should be punished. And if that makes people uncomfortable, I'm okay with that. If you have a problem with that as a libertarian, then I'm sorry. I think you're wrong. And I think that any society that doesn't put, the future generations prospering at the center of its philosophy, I think is doomed, rightfully doomed to fail. Now maybe there are libertarian arguments against what I'm saying, but none that I've heard that are particularly convincing. Now, people have brought up the argument to me that you can't really ban abortion without having some kind of spying apparatus because what are you going to do? Go into people's homes and make sure that doctors aren't performing abortions? And fair enough. I do believe that basically you would outlaw abortion. And then if you found out that somebody had an abortion, you had proof of it, then you could throw that person in jail for life. I don't believe in the death penalty still because I just don't believe that a government is a, how do I want to put this? A well put enough or a well put together machine or like an apparatus that can be trusted with that power to arbitrarily decide life or death. Maybe if we had a more trustworthy government or a government so small that like the president didn't matter, then maybe I change my mind. But in this current day, no. Now people may say that's contradictory because I do believe in your right to self-defense and you do have a right to stop violent people if they are attempting to harm you, your life, your liberty, or your overall well-being. But those are two different things than a judge and jury deciding that somebody's life should be ended. But kind of as I've gotten older, I have moved away from anarcho-capitalism. I don't consider myself an anarcho-capitalist because I don't believe you can have a social order that revolves around anarchy and doesn't have some, way of maintaining order. Because if you don't have any order, then what you have is chaos. And when you have chaos, then there are no rules, people get hurt, and people don't necessarily respect property rights as much because there is no order to which you respect those property rights. So, um, yeah, I'm going into this, realizing that life is going to change a lot, and I'm perfectly okay with that. And I had somebody say to me on Twitter the other day, they said they couldn't wait to see the philosophy go away or something like that. And I've been the first person to say that I've never really read a lot of libertarian literature, and I know there's gonna be more people reading in the comments, but um minarchist libertarian is probably the closest label that you could say that I am. But at the same time, I'm not here to fight and die on the hill if I'm a right wing, left wing libertarian or whatever. Like, I just sincerely don't care to have these arguments. And I see people always wanting to die on the hill of being right wing or something like that, or what is or isn't right wing. I don't care. Um, I am a dude who likes heavy metal. I'm a guy who works on cars for a living and lives in rural Pennsylvania. I'm going to be a father. I'm a husband. I am an athlete. I'm a lot of things. I don't believe in equality. I believe that my wife and I both serve different functions, and I don't believe that all races are created equally and all people are created equally. It was often said by Eric July that the same man is unequal to himself on different days. And that's okay. It just is what it is. It's not saying you're better or worse. It's just saying you're different and that you're not equal in your abilities or your capabilities. Just is what it is. So, I mean, this kind of goes back to, children. Children aren't equal in any way either because they can't affect their will in the world and they can't, make decisions the same way that we do. And this goes a whole nother conversation of the whole transforming children. I know YouTube's algorithm is a little bit sensitive about this, but when you start talking about that kind of stuff or saying that children can consent in that respect, think about the logical implications of that. If you believe a child can make a life altering decision when they're just a child, then does that mean if a child gets in a car and then hurts somebody or, heaven forbid, kills somebody, should that child be charged as an adult? Well, they can consent, right? They consented to getting in a vehicle and then slaughtering a whole bunch of people because they put it in D for dumb and just mash the gas. I don't think a lot of people would make that argument because we recognize that children don't have fully developed brains, bodies, and they don't understand the consequences of their actions the same way that adults do. When it comes to the transforming children stuff, I think I don't know how people could ever come to the conclusion that that's right in any just sense. It's not. I mean, it's utter insanity. That should be opposed at all costs. And any civilization that starts to kind of tip into that kind of stuff, you're really playing with fire and you're really kind of digging at the roots of civilization, if you will, because we're starting to ask questions about, once again, children's consent and their ability to be autonomous. And I think most of us realize that children aren't autonomous beings because, once again, they don't understand everything that you understand as an adult. You listening to this, let me run an ad real quick. All right, guys, we are going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the show's sponsor. We are now brought to you by Fox and Sons Coffee. As you can see right here, I got the Den Blend Dark. Really enjoy that. I've been drinking a lot of their Brazil Honey Prep right here. As you can hear, there's not a lot of beans left in it because I've been drinking it quite a bit. Just to tell you a little bit about Fox and Sons, why I support them and why you should too, is that Stephen had started the company up in Michigan to help teach his son about entrepreneurship. I'm all about that, and I do firmly believe that in order to spread liberty in our lifetimes, we have to support those who support similar values as us. And Stephen does support all the same libertarian values that I bring and talk about on the show a lot. So go to foxandsons.com, use code Kyle at checkout to get 15% off of orders $25 or more, and there's always free shipping whenever you place an order that is more than $37.99. All right, that's that. So yeah, there's so many questions that I have and things that I'm going to learn along the way, and I think everybody kind of looks at it this way when first entering into being a parent. But it just is what it is. I'm very, very grateful for my family, for my wife's family, the network of people that we have that are around us willing to help out, and that's just I couldn't be happier about that because um, I was talking about moving to Florida a couple years ago. I had a job interview in Tallahassee, and like, man, it would have been awesome to move down there. Maybe not like right now after all the hurricanes and shit. But, to live in Florida would just be absolutely incredible. I mean, everybody knows me that I try to go to Florida as much as possible, just because like that the air feels happy down there. But the problem with me moving down there is I would be away from my family and all the wonderful people up here who really have made my life as good as it is and make everything that I do possible. So, if there's another little bit of advice and maybe something useful that you can ascertain from this podcast, other than the fact that I'm getting my own fuck trophy, is having a network is just, I can't overstate how important that is and uh how much that's worth when you can call up your old man and then he knows anybody and everybody that can fix an issue that you're having with your house that I don't have the knowledge to fix. I mean, I know how to fix a lot of stuff. I'm a mechanic, right? But there are definitely things that are out of my wheelhouse, and I accept they're out of my wheelhouse, and that just is what it is. Having a network like that is just, you cannot put a price on it. And if you don't have that network, then what are you doing? Get a hold of people and make a community. And this kind of goes to something that I'm very, very grateful for. So I mentioned Hawk earlier, but Red Hawk is hosting that Old Glory Club conference, and it's sold out in a matter of like 12 hours. And tickets were pretty pricey. I mean, they were not cheap, and they sold out. They have some awesome speakers there. So hopefully everybody who's going to that, and if you're listening to this, you're going to that. Hopefully you guys have a great time. I wish I could make it, but the budget is a little bit tight. And then also my wife wants to be careful about traveling, just because she does have an elevated risk of blood clots with factor five. But that being said, I hope everybody has a blast. But looking at an organization like the Old Glory Club, that's the point I want to make. That is an example of a network, and like, man, just being able to go all over the country and knowing that you have people there for you and people that'll help you out, and basically a fraternity that makes you uncancelable. I mean, man, that is, you can't put a price on that. So they're forming an Old Glory Club chapter here in Pennsylvania eventually. I'm in the group chat with everybody. And if you are in that group chat and you're listening to this, I'm sincerely sorry. I haven't made it out to any of the meetings. Just my schedule does not work very well with a lot of stuff between the band, the podcast, and my health and fitness, and then obviously my dogs and responsibilities at home. So I'll definitely make it out to one eventually, but just right now is not a good time. And they're literally doing one, I think, right now as I speak. And I wish I could be there, but I did work today. So that's kind of why I'm doing this now, is because the dogs are running around downstairs, and I just have a little bit of time tonight to record this. So that way, like I said, you guys have some wonderful Sunday morning listening. So, yeah, your network is very important. I'm blessed to have a great network. The Old Glory Club is a great network. And then hopefully you guys all have good relationships with your families because, you can't put a price on that. You only get one of them. So that's that. So I really think the big takeaway for me here is that I'm looking forward to potentially changing the course of my family's history because, my parents were divorced, my wife's parents were divorced, and I'm hoping that we can kind of rein in a new era of Matovic greatness, so to speak. And I know that sounds corny, but, I am a fourth generation American, if I recall correctly. My great grandfather was fixing cars here back in that would probably be like the 30s, 40s, 50s. My grandfather did it for a long time, and my dad's been doing it for 40 years. So, and then I've been doing it for 13 years. So I don't know if I probably won't push my kid into it, because the automotive business is brutal, but it is what it is. It's the Matovic thing, and I would change it if I could, but I'm already too far in, right, so to speak. And I would have been an instructor. What do we always say on our red evening? I could have had a pension, but I decided to be a retard on the internet, right? So I think that's about all I got. If you're listening to this live tonight, if you're in the southwestern Pennsylvania area, you should totally go see A Common Crown, Blood Clots, and Cultist Black at the Raindrop Inn. It's going to be a blast. We're going to be playing a ton of new material. We arranged our set list and everything. It's going to be an awesome time, so you should come check that out. If not, we're playing with Lynch Mob later this month, Lacey Sturm next month, and a whole bunch of other shows. If you go to our Facebook page or our website, acommoncrown.com, you should be able to see all our dates and everything like that. So that's awesome stuff. Oh, what else? I think her name's Alexandra from Just the Shots coming on Wednesday to talk about like medical information, how to read studies, and deciphering all that kind of stuff because that is very heady and very, very difficult. And hopefully, that when I've done it, you guys have taken away something from it because I know I do. I've done a ton of health related content as well. Uh, I will hopefully have all the guys from antiwar.com and the Libertarian Institute, Kyle, Connor, and Pat, maybe Dave, Brad, all on to just talk about foreign policy stuff because this is, the third year, or it's going to be 3 years since I had them on first. And I just enjoy talking to those guys as always. Um, Go check out all the past podcasts from last month: Orrin McIntyre, Buck Johnson, Sam Urban, and then the Sunday Coffees as well. And then debunking CIA propaganda. I'm going to start uploading more YouTube shorts, by the way. I'm going to try to do like one or two of those a week. And, you guys can just kind of let me know what you think about those. Please become a channel member for the lowly price of $2.99 a month. It would mean the whole world to me if you guys did that, especially being that now we're going to be having another family member in the house that I can spread the wealth with. So anyways, I'd greatly appreciate that. You can always donate if you feel so kind down below. And if none of that, please just like and subscribe on your way out. I didn't want to overstay my welcome here too much. I just wanted to share the news with the podcast audience. And then, like I said, give you guys a little bit of smooth listening on a Sunday morning. Nothing too heavy or anything like that. Just kind of talk with you guys. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this. So I think that's all I got. Relatively short show. And yeah, tune in Wednesday. Make sure you subscribe to 5 till midnight. Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And now that I'm done with all my shilling, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. So, one more time, thank you so much for listening. And please stay healthy, stay safe, and take care.